Hey, welcome back to Scott Swing Sports. I am back by myself again. My dad will be back in a few weeks to hopefully do our World Cup predictions for this year. Let's get into my college football and NFL predictions. Just so you know, I have the Astros winning tomorrow night in 6 games. I think I had the Astros in 6 at the start of the series. I'm sticking with it. So let's get into my college football and NFL predictions for the weekend. First game out tonight, Oregon State and Washington. It's a very cool 50 degrees tonight in Seattle. I'm going to go with Washington to get the win here at home. I think Washington's a little bit better than Oregon State is right now, so I'm going to go with Washington to get the win here at home over Oregon State. Next up, UCF coming off a huge win last week against Cincinnati here in the bounce house as they head into Memphis to take on the Memphis Tigers, who are not very good this year, but they always give us trouble. 64 degrees tomorrow in Memphis. I'm going to take UCF to find a way to win this game. I think it's not going to be pretty, but I think UCF's going to find a way to win this game. Memphis always gives us problems every year, so I'm going to go with UCF to get a win here at home over Memphis. Next up, probably the biggest blowout of the weekend is going to be C.J. Stroud and Ohio State heading into Evanston, Illinois to take on Northwestern. Ohio State favored by 38 points this week. I'm going to take Ohio State to win the game here at home on the road here in Evanston. I think Ohio State's got a straight shot right now to go into the game against Michigan undefeated. So hopefully I would love to see Michigan and Ohio State both undefeated going into that game. So we'll see how that goes the next couple weeks. Next up, Texas Tech and TCU. TCU should be a little upset after being ranked number 7 last week. This week in the college football poll. I thought they should have been number 6, but that's just me. I'm going to go with TCU to get the win here at home. I think TCU is a little bit better than Texas Tech is this year. So I'm going to go with the only undefeated team right now in the Big 12 and TCU to get the win here at home over Texas Tech. Next up, North Carolina and Virginia. I'm going to go with Mack Brown and North Carolina. Mack Brown's got a good team this year again. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were last year with the loss of Sam Howell to the NFL. But North Carolina's, again, very good this year, so I'm going to go with the Tar Heels to get the win here on the road against Virginia. Next up, Tulane and Tulsa. Tulane, undefeated, highest ranked Group of 5 team right now in the college football playoff standings. I'm going to go with Tulane to get the win here on the road in Tulsa to get it done here. And then they got a huge matchup next week with UCF going into New Orleans to take on Tulane. That could be College Game Day next week. I would not be surprised at all to see Tulane and UCF as College Game Day next week in New Orleans. So I'm going to go with Tulane to get the win here on the road against Tulane. Next up, Oregon and Colorado. Oregon coming off another nice win last week. I'm going to go with Oregon to get the win here. Oregon has had a very nice bounce back after starting the season off a little bit rocky with that huge loss to Georgia back in week 1. They've won 7 straight since. I'm going to go with Oregon to make it 8 straight wins here on the road against Colorado. Next up, Penn State coming off a better performance than I thought they'd have last week against Ohio State as they head into Bloomington, Indiana to take on Indiana. Give me Penn State in this game. I think Indiana's had a rough year right now. Apologies to my buddy Kurt Esser for that, but I think Penn State's winning this game here on the road against Indiana. Next up, Michigan State and Illinois. Illinois probably one of the most surprising teams in the year this year. Doing very well. Brett Bielema should be one of the coaches of the year right now with Illinois. I'm going to go with Illinois to get the win here at home. I think Illinois has been very good. So I'm going to go with Illinois to get the win here at home in Champaign against Michigan State. Next up, Kansas and Oklahoma State. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here. Surprised Kansas is favored by 1 point here at home, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma State to get the win here on the road in Lawrence against Kansas. Next up, Syracuse and Pitt. I'm going to go with Syracuse to get a win here. I'm going to trust this team one more time to get a win this week. I'm going to go with Syracuse to get the win here at home on the road in Pittsburgh against Pitt. Next up, Alabama and LSU. Always a big game. This game is always fun to watch year after year. My buddy Riley Carey and I were just talking about this last night. This game is always close, no matter how bad LSU is some years. They're always keeping this game tight. I'm going to go with Alabama to get a win here, though, on the road. I think Alabama's just a little too much this year. I'm going to go with Alabama to get the win here on the road against LSU. Next up, Texas and Kansas State. I'm going to go with Texas. I think I'm actually going to go with Kansas State here. I think Kansas State is a better team right now than Texas. So I'm going to go with Kansas State to get the win here at home over Texas. Next up, Clemson and Notre Dame should be a good one here. Notre Dame having a much better, playing much better now since that slow start to the season. I'm going to go with Clemson to get the win here on the road, though. I think Clemson's a little bit too much right here. I'm going to go with Dabo Swinney and Clemson to get the win here on the road against Notre Dame. Next up, Michigan and Rutgers. I'm going to go with Michigan. I think Michigan's a little bit too much here. I'm going to go with the Wolverines on the road against Rutgers. Next up, Utah and Arizona. I'm going to go with Utah at home. I think Utah, again, a little bit too much for Arizona to handle this year. So I'm going to go with Utah to keep their slight Pac-12 championship hopes alive with a win here at home in Salt Lake City against Arizona. Next up, Wake Forest and NC State. I'm going to go with NC State here to pull off a little bit of an upset. I think Wake Forest will play better than they did last week, but I think NC State gets the win here at home in Raleigh against Wake Forest. Next up, Cal and USC. I'm going to go with Southern Cal. I think USC's been much better this year than Cal, so I'm going to go with USC at home over Cal. Next up, Arizona State hosting UCLA. I'm going to go with Chip Kelly and UCLA to get the win here. They get back on track this week after a tough loss to Oregon a couple weeks ago. I'm going to go with UCLA to get the win. And now the College Game Day game of the week. College Game Day tomorrow morning is going to be in Athens, as it'll be number 1 Tennessee heading in to take on number 3 Georgia. Should be a phenomenal game. I'm not going to be able to watch much of it because UCF is on at the same time tomorrow. I'm going to go with Georgia to find a way to win this game. I think Georgia's got a little bit of a better team right now. I think Tennessee's got the best player in this game in Hendon Hooker, but I think Georgia's got the better overall team, so I'm going to go with Georgia to get the win here over Tennessee. And now into the NFL games. NFL picks for the weekend again. Good starts the weekend off 1-0 after I picked the Eagles to beat the Texans last night, as did everybody. First game out tomorrow. Two very desperate teams go in. 81 degrees at kickoff tomorrow on Sunday afternoon, 4:30 kickoff. It's going to be Matt Stafford and the Rams heading into Ray J to take on Tom Brady and the Bucs. Two teams that need a win in the worst way right now. But I think Tampa Bay, I'm going to trust them one more time. I think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers find a way to get a win at home over the Rams. Next up, the NFC South leading Atlanta Falcons. I didn't think I'd be saying that this late in the season, as they host my buddy Kyle Hymas and the LA Chargers. Give me the LA Chargers to get the win here on the road. I think these Chargers are a little bit too much right now. So I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. Still no Keenan Allen this week. I don't know when he'll be back. I'm going to go with the Chargers to get the win here on the road in Atlanta against the Falcons. Next up, it'll be Tua and the Dolphins heading into Chicago to take on the Bears. Give me Tua and the Dolphins to get the win here on the road in Chicago. I'm going to go with Tua and the Dolphins to get a win on the road in Chicago against the Bears. I think the Dolphins are just a good team this year, and the Bears are just not great. Next up, P.J. Walker and the Carolina Panthers heading into Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Panthers have not won a road game all season. I don't think they win one here. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals to get a win here at home. They know they got to keep winning if they want to win the AFC North. So I think they do that here. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and the Bengals to get the win here at home over the Panthers. Next up is it'll be Aaron Rodgers and the Packers heading into Detroit to take on the Lions. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers to get the win here on the road. I think Aaron Rodgers probably has his best game of the year right here against a Lions defense that can't stop anybody. So I'm going to go with the Packers to get the win here on the road in Detroit in a high-scoring game against the Lions. Next up, it'll be Jonathan Taylor and the Colts heading into New England to take on the Patriots. I'm going to go with Mac Jones and the New England Patriots to get the win here. Bill Belichick against a rookie quarterback usually never bodes well for the rookie quarterback. I'm going to go with New England to get the win here at home over the Colts. Next up, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills heading into New York to take on Zach Wilson and the Jets. Give me the Buffalo Bills to get the win here. I think the Bills are playing really good right now. Another great win last Sunday night against the Packers, so I'm going to go with the Bills on the road against the Jets. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings heading in to Washington to take on the Commanders. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings to get the win here on the road in Washington against the Commanders. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders heading into Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Tough game here, but I'm going to go with the Raiders to finally get a road win. They're 0-4 on the road here, but I think they get a win. I think I'm going to go with Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders to get the win here on the road in Jacksonville against the Jags. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks heading into Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Give me Kenneth Walker and the Seattle Seahawks to get the win here on the road. I think the Seahawks are a little bit better, and they got to win this game because they got a long trip to Germany next week to take on the Bucs in Germany next Sunday. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks to get the win on the road in Arizona against the Cardinals. Next up, the Tennessee Titans heading into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Give me Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to get this done at home on Sunday night. I think there should be no problem here. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to get the win on the road at home on Sunday night against the Titans. Now into Monday Night Football is going to be Lamar Jackson and the Ravens heading into New Orleans to take on the Saints. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to get the win here. The Ravens have looked very good all season. So I'm going to go with the Ravens to get the win here and keep first place in the AFC North. There are a lot of buys this week. The teams on a bye week this week are the Browns, the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Niners. So if you have any fantasy teams there, I would check those out before the lineups are set at 1 o'clock this week. The non-top 25 game of the week this week. My buddy Terry Jules, Kentucky Wildcats heading into Missouri. Forgot about this game in my college football predictions. Give me Kentucky to get the win here. I think Kentucky's been playing much better as of late. I think Will Levis is the reason why I think Kentucky wins this game. I'm going to go with Kentucky to get the win on the road in Columbia against Missouri tomorrow. And now for the biggest game of the weekend, in my opinion, the battle for the Town Trophy tonight, as it'll be Oviedo and Haggerty. Both teams coming in 8-1. Very impressive. I'm going to go with Oviedo to find a way to win this game. I think both teams have had tests this year. Oviedo's had 2 of them and passed 1 of them and failed 1. Haggerty has only had 1 test this year and they failed it earlier this season. So I'm going to go with Oviedo to find a way to get a win on the road. Right down the road from us at Haggerty, I think Oviedo finds a way to get into the playoffs next week at 9-1, get into that number 2 seed, and then hopefully Edgewater and Jones can get upset by the time we play them in the district in the regional final. I'll see you guys right back here next week on Scott's Week Sports with some more college football and NFL predictions and maybe some more high school football predictions. I'll see you guys right back here next week on Scott's Week Sports. See you later, guys.